Hello, everybody. This is Dylloop, the owner of Skunkworks, and this is the second episode of my series on how to be more server conscious in your space engineers builds. In this episode, I want to kind of go over conveyor junctions and conveyor networks when you build your base or your ship or your printer designs. I'm going to go ahead and turn my HUD on here. So, when you are thinking of how conveyors work in this game, it is very simple. You have a starting block, and it might be a welder or assembler or a refinery, and that block sends a pull request through the network. Now, that pull request will say like, I need iron plates to build this block. And now welders, for instance, they have the conveyor ports on three of the sides. So it checks one side. If there's a path down it, it checks all that path, and it starts looking for those iron plates. And it does this throughout the entire conveyor network until it finds that block or that component. So to make welders more efficient and to make your entire ship more efficient, what you can do is make sure that the items that are needed for that specific task are readily available to the conveyor network. For instance, say that you have a container here, and it could be a large, small, medium, whatever container, and it has your components for your welder. Instead of having it over here and having your refineries here and your assemblers here, and you have this big convoluted conveyor network, and then it just goes to your welders, you can instead place it here, and it's in a direct line to your welder setup so that it can just be conveyed directly up. I know that's not a junction, but I'm just placing blocks. And what that'll do is that'll mean when this welder is looking for blocks, it will go down that path, go down this path and say, hey, there's iron plates. I don't even need to search the network anymore because I found them right here. And it stops that. And that can be applied to refineries and assemblers and even H2O2 generators as well. So if you have your refinery here and your assembler here and your ore container here with your ingot container here or a centralized storage area, the problem comes that this refinery has to push out those ingots, and it has to go through the assembler and go through here to go to its container. Or vice versa, if the assembler needs ingots, it will check both paths. It'll check this way and this way until it finds those ingots. And obviously this is very simplified, but when you have a big base with a lot of conveyor tubes, it grows exponentially, and then times 20, 30 people that are on the server. So to make things more efficient, you can do things like this where you have your ore container here, your refineries here, ingot container, assembler, components, welder. You know, a very simple path, and you got to think of it as like you were driving. You wouldn't want to drive up the street, turn right, turn left again, and then turn right just to go straight. You want to just, continue up the street. Think your components are taking that path, and you want them to go the easiest way path possible. Now, this episode is going to be a little bit longer because there's even more to cover on the subject, and that is with conveyor junctions. As I said, these conveyors have to do that check on every single path that they need to follow. So if you have a conveyor junction, that means that it has to check all 6 of the faces of that block. So if we put our conveyor junction here, and it needs to look for components, it will search all 6 of these faces regardless of whether they're connected to a tube. And we have this problem a lot on the server. We see people build their conveyor tubes like this, where they just use junctions because they're easier to build. You can expand onto them whenever you want. They're airtight, but they're very, very, very inefficient. So instead, what you do is say that you need a branch off here, and you need one to go this way and one to go this way. Instead of using a conveyor junction like so, we have modded blocks in our server that are T-junctions, and they come in a couple of different varieties. Like we have a 3-way T like this and like this, and then we also have 4-way junctions that look like those. We don't have any 5-way junctions, so if you need to go 5 ways, you're better off using an actual conveyor junction. Now, people always ask, well, what about airtightness? What if I need to make a room airtight and I want to place, say, a conveyor junction that goes through this wall, but I need this room airtight? Well, I can't place a tube through there. Well, no, you can't. And there are mods like armored conveyors that make them airtight, but we don't have that on our server. Um, But at that point, you are okay just using a conveyor junction if you just need to punch through the wall and get your tube to the other side. And as I said, one or two conveyor junctions isn't going to hurt the server. It's just being mindful and eliminating them wherever possible in your builds. Now, if you need a conveyor to go through the floor, for instance, you can use these graded conveyor tubes, and these are airtight on one face, and that is the side with the catwalk. And they come in the solid version as well. Both of them are airtight the same, and you could just place them like so. And they place as a full block with this one face being airtight. So you can have your tubes under the floor and it still be airtight without having any issue of conveyor junctions. So I know this video is kind of convoluted, but I really hope you guys stuck around for the whole thing. I'm hoping it was informative, and I will be coming out with stuff in the future. Thank you all for watching.